Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so excited to introduce you to my friend, someone that I've gotten to work with as she launched her amazing podcast. And now we are collaborating on something really cool. Welcome to the podcast, Veruschka.
Thank you so much, Jennifer.
I this conversation is going to be amazing because we haven't talked about on this podcast in a while art and the therapeutic properties of art and how that can really unlock your creativity. And I know you just tried for the first time the art of release. I want to know what that unlocked for you, and then we'll go into all the goodness of art.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, you really blew my mind when you were telling me about how art, uh, changed changed your life for you, and you're telling me about the exploration. You're like, yeah, it's with your eyes closed, and I'm like, what? Like that was just so beyond what I have even ever conceived or heard of. Like that's the opposite. So I just spontaneously the other night after we chatted, I'm like, okay, I had all my supplies out. I'm like, let's do this. I'd already um, prepared this theme that I was leaning into creating, and it had this mountain and the masculine, feminine on top. And I'm like, okay, so what colors are representing my now self? Like, who am I right now, right here, right now? So that was my question. And I had tons and tons of acrylics. So I set them all in a bag and I closed my eyes. And so just let myself pick three colors. So, and then just squirting them on the canvas, my eyes closed. I couldn't believe, and at least I knew like where the edges were. So I have no idea if the paint was even coming out or how much or where it was. And then I took three brushes and I just let myself just, create and move it around and just expressing just energetically how I'm feeling right now and who I am. And then, of course, the thoughts of like, oh God, is this going to be all like dark and, what crazy colors are going to be here? And then I picked another set when I picked four that I wanted to represent my future self. And so I did those knowingly where the sky would be on half of the canvas, so the mountain had me now, and then in the sky, my future self. And so I just dove in. I'm like, okay, make it messy, make it messy. She said she likes to be messy. So I just put my fingers in and just was like really feeling, and it was totally different movements, of like just bringing in this new energy of my future self and welcoming in. And so I opened my eyes and I just had to laugh because everything was green and yellow. And so the ones I picked at the beginning were yellow, green, and gold. And I was like, wow, that's so beautiful. And then you had shared how you ended up picking a white crayon on white paper for your spirit self, your spiritual relationship. And so on one, I had white on one side and on the other side, black with glitter in it. And so it was right next to the masculine and feminine figures at the top of the mountain. So it's so interesting that I literally had yin and yang on the side, and then green that blended it all together. And so it's so awesome because I was delighted just because I feel like the theme has been about the green woman or the green man of like bringing the organic back, and just like that the witchy self of the creatrix, and so I was just so I had like four greens total that I had picked out of everything. And so it really blew my mind, and just that it was so literal that I had black and white equal on both sides, and I had to write you right away. I'm like, oh my gosh, this totally. And so it gave me more like trust, faith, delight that I'm on the right path. And, it was just this confirmation that there wasn't any like secret darkness and that's not even bad either, it's like, so I just like that it was reflecting inherently like, no, we have black and white in us, it's natural, but it was balanced. So that was pretty cool.
I love that. And I love that you ran with this, because I know that you are someone who has used art throughout, your time, and in a creative, I want to call it creative therapy. I don't know if we're allowed to call it technically therapy. Therapeutic, I think, is the right word we're allowed to use, as we're not therapists. But I know that art has played a huge role in your life and how you've moved through things. How was this experience? I'm not going to say different, but like an add-on to what you've created. And can you kind of tell us how you've used art in the past to move through things?
Well, I think because I don't come from an artistic background of technical, art skills, or let's say fine art, right? Um, I've always been creative. I've always loved art, but I've never considered myself able to be a fine artist or colors or things like that. So when I sat down and began my journey, there were tarot cards or oracle cards were definitely involved to give me concepts or themes or ideas, or try to even copy. My favorite artist in Hawaii, he said, well, how you learn art is you start copying things you like. You just copy, 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 and you learn through copying. And so that's what I use that model from tarot cards I would pull. And so in a way, the using the blind method sort of reminded me of that, because you're pulling themes, and it's just something being reflected back at you. So in that sense, I can just compare it to that sort of wild card, that it's a co-creative experience with the unseen world, or with your subconscious mind, right? And so just like putting the symbols into my painting, from the cards or things that I see that are messages, and then creating it and then seeing how it shows up in my life, that it's almost predictive what I'm creating, and how it's being seen reflected back. And so like this exercise recently, it just brought me more confirmation. I just felt like, okay, I'm on board. My higher self's on board with my current self, and my past self, who has invested this time and taken the time to actually explore this, even though I still don't have technical skills really. It's more like the element of surprise, that the benefits are that you feel the satisfaction of even trying, So, yeah, I highly recommend the adventure, because it's also taking you out of a controlled space, that you're not dominating something with your mind, but just open to the mystery, and having a communication, what I call the call and response with life, with the unseen world, with the universe, with spirit, with source, whatever you connect to. It's like we are that, it's the mirror of us being the infinite mystery. And then so just like green happens to be my favorite color. Who knew that I would pick that many would be picked, and you're just like energetically, grabbing at something. I'm like, I don't know why, but I'm picking this one in my hand. It feels arbitrary, but why are we stopping at that one and picking that one? Who knows?
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I've never thought of using like a deck to inspire. And I love that that's kind of the same concept. So can you share with us a little bit how this has supported you and your business? And I know you have worked with clients in this manner also, through unlocking and reconnecting to self, and like what happens when we aren't creative.
When we aren't creative, and we want to like try and exercise to have a breakthrough, or what do you mean?
Just in general, like I feel like there's like unlocking so much of our inner fire comes through creativity. And one of the things you mentioned was you shut it, like people shut it down, because you said fine art, fine art, fine art. And I think so many of us get stuck in that word, that there's that fear that blocks us. Well, what happens when we block all of our creativity? How does that show up in our lives? And I know that's showed up, or we wouldn't keep doing art.
Right. Well, just being, being in a rut or being stuck, or it really is about self-judgment, of just like if things aren't working out in our life and we are just trying to, survive with basic fundamental living skills to get through the day or whatever, then and or the to-do list or the shoulds and things like that, then creativity and art, that doesn't even come into the picture, right? That's like last on your to-do list, right? Like, oh, why should I invest my time in this when I'm just have to feed myself and walk the dog and do the dishes and things like that. But I mean, in my personal life, what was a gift is just commitment, like the saying yes to the commitment, like a job we go to a job because we're getting paid, like it's not a choice, right? But making time for creativity, that's like you have to make that choice to set aside that time, right? And so the sneaky way it happened for me personally was very fortunate, or serendipitous, that I ended up meeting in person my favorite artist in Hawaii. And they happened to meet as a group for already 20 years at these hot springs that we had, and just met in public, and they all worked on their projects. No one was teaching art. Everyone was just working on their art. And he invited me to join them. He's like, just come here. We're here. And I'm like, I'm not an artist. But then I was like, I love going to these hot springs, and I never go because, again, it's more of a luxury to go and make, go and enjoy nature. So I just decided to make that commitment to go every Friday. And so showing up somewhere, regardless if you have the energy, if you think you're good, but it was like my commitment. And so I would sit down anew and just be in front of the white canvas, and I'm just doing art for art's sake, so it's more like the commitment to show up, regardless if you feel like it or not. And that's how I end up using like tarot and oracle card decks to bring them with me, just for inspiration, just to be like, okay, just put down the first color, and just put down the next thing, or what symbol or what animal wants to be in here, or what words, how do I feel, or what line in this in the deck is inspiring me with guidance that I'm going to put these lines into my art. So I have to say that the commitment itself was the gift, because it didn't matter how I felt. And it was always worth it. On Friday is like Freya's day, goddess day. And for me, that is like the feminine is creativity. So I love the fact that like it's Friday, what does the goddess want to eat today, and packing my lunch for that day, and really like, and then I would be so inspired that when I got home, half the time I ended up taking all my things into bed and continuing painting in bed, just because of like that art of fulfillment of completing something or moving forward, or, finishing up some open visions that you had. And yeah, I mean, I don't really know what to say about if you're stuck and not feeling creative, but just that commitment to something, whether you have a journal, a notepad where you're writing in, or you can doodle in, just doing something. And I've just found that just doing that and using that side of my brain or whatever gives me energy in other projects, where then I'm like, oh, this thing I had to do, and suddenly it's really easy because I'd already faced some fears moving through something on paper, right? So, I mean, in a nutshell, I would say that putting my energy into creativity for business has been around my confidence, of really like, oh, if I can draw this circle here, oh, let me do, a new workshop, or create something new, or make this post and this image, and just getting really excited, where suddenly there's an energy and new eyes of just clarity, and it's not heavy anymore. So it's like it uplifts the places we're stuck because of our lack of self-confidence, or our own critical mind, or our judgment about, oh, I'm putting this out there. But then you're coming then back into your business with an energy of inspiration. And it's like, it's more like coming from neutrality, whether that instead of not good enough, or feeling like you're having to be relevant or compete with others, or like, oh, all these other people have the same message too, why bother? But it's like, no, I have my own voice and this is what's fun for me, and just following that flow and energy.
Ooh, there is so much that you just said that is like, if you didn't get a heart hit in one of those messages of just finding your voice and finding your confidence, the creativity isn't necessarily about, creating the masterpiece that's going to hang in the museum, but it's about unlocking that inner fire, that inner confidence. And I love how sitting at that hot springs with those people around you allowed you to find that confidence and that inspiration to bring out into the world. We need more of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And even, I mean, I saved most of my art, and at the time I feel just like a little kid, and it's so embarrassing, and I feel so shy about it. And at the same time, as time passes and I look back on the pieces, I see so much information and so much symbolism that's informing me now. And then I actually have this sense of gratitude and pride, because I saw each of those things as catalysts to bring me to my next trajectory, or my next level of acceptance, or my self-approval, of just like going back and actually validating myself. And maybe at the time I was mortified and horrified and would never want to show those pieces, but then coming back and realizing, wow, these were stepping stones, and who I am now, like these have brought me further along in my courage. It's definitely, I file art under the category of heart courage, because it's not for the faint of heart if you don't have skills. I mean, I know that even skilled people face perfectionism and, see all the things that are wrong, but to come really from an innocent place and the non-judgmental place, it brings you so much more freedom. And that's why I really encourage people to allow themselves to spend time exploring, because of the freedom it's going to bring you to be more communicative. I mean, I never wanted to do any public speaking, and now I have a podcast, or, I'm talking to you now. That is a result of not filtering myself.
Oh, I love that. And I did not know that art helped you unlock that ability to speak on your podcast. Just for, namesake, can you drop what your podcast is, and so people can find it, because since you just brought it up.
Yeah, it's Rose Yoga, tapping into heart courage. And, I'm a master EFT practitioner and work with people around resolving trauma and fears and phobias and grief. But in my shows and there, I sort of bring in all the topics that pertain to self-love, just topics that are innovating new ways of us to love ourselves. And that includes creativity, that includes showing curiosity to yourself. What wants to come out? What wants to be expressed? What do these things in here look like in color? And, I've always been a big vision boarder, because it takes the responsibility of the now out of more like, oh, what makes me feel good, reaching out and creating images that just make me feel peaceful. So, I mean, I've probably been doing vision boards for 15 years, and with everything, with painting and collaging and words. But, the most important thing I found in my process is creating the vision board in a way that makes my nervous system feel really peaceful. If there's anything on there that feels like, oh, I'm reaching too far, it's stressing me out, or that would take a lot of work to try to get there, like I try to eliminate until, or move that word or that image around until my body just like, that feels good. And so that's been informing in that way too. It's different when you're making art, because you're not necessarily, oh, does this make my nervous system feel good? But actually, even coloring in fields, like if you're going to go to a coloring book, just the way it feels to complete one field with one color. It makes you feel like accomplished, right? Just the satisfaction of getting closer to something, and it's out of the mind, it's outside of the mind, it's more of a nervous system reflection thing.
Yeah.
So some people might do yoga for that, or breathing exercises or affirmations to release anxiety or whatever. But I feel like the act of sitting down and using your hands and having this reflection come out, it's a peaceful, hopefully a peaceful experience after the initial dread or resistance. We only have resistance because we have self-judgment, an idea of perfectionism.
Yeah. And I truly think that that's one of the things that holds so many people back in all areas of their life, is that perfectionism. And I think that art, and like you said, coloring, I always forget about how therapeutic just coloring, grabbing a coloring book. You always see all these adult coloring books on all the shelves in the bookstores. And I've never really sat down with one, but I can only imagine how, I mean, even if it's some lines you put on your own page, it's just therapeutic to doodle, to color, to fill in. And I love that you associated that with a sense of accomplishment. That's a definite confidence builder.
Right. Yeah. Because we like to have measured results, or I do at least, of like, oh, is this wasting my time to be doing this? But it's more like, well, how does it make you feel? Right. And if you get to a place of a more peaceful place, then you're also more resourced to write on your offer or your post your thing, and what has been feeling so rewarding for me lately is actually, being found by the people that need my gift, and then it's not like I'm not trying, but I'm not like I'm getting paid for things I love to do, and so it's like this beautiful figure eight of all those trying things that I've invested my time in that didn't seem like it was moving toward a result. But as a result of me investing my time in art, it's just made me stronger in my character and my truth and what I stand for. And I think people really feel that. And then you will inevitably, draw to you the people that need your medicine. And so I was just, really appreciating lately of like, oh, it's really feels good to receive money for what I'm putting out, because it's not like a stretch, it's actually even. There's a lot of equanimity in it now, because I'm not trying to prove anything. I'm not, I don't feel like I have imposter syndrome, just we are who we are as a result of what we're thinking, what we have invested our time in. And, maybe I have a storage in Hawaii with all of my original art. It might all be molded now.
Oh
But
no.
I mean, who knows? But it still feels liberating, because I don't feel like I need the proof anymore,
Ooh, liberating and freedom. I think like you're hitting the nail right on the head. I don't know any other word to say that, is that is what art has allowed, at least I've seen in my life and in others. It allows you to get out of that hustle, and it magnetizes your energy, because it's a different state of energy. The
Absolutely.
creative.
Absolutely. Yeah, not the mind, and trust it. It builds self-trust. It is kind of standing at the edge of the cliff and going like, oh my gosh, I don't know what's going to come out. I'm going to jump. I don't know how it's going to land, but I know I'm going to be different from having the courage to jump. It's sort of like exhilarating and also an act of total acceptance.
Yeah.
So
And
that practice alone will affect all other parts of your life, because then you will go easier on yourself.
allow things to come up, which is something I am so grateful for, our friendship, and what we've created, that you reminded me like, hey, there's this thing. Do you want a partner? And it all of a sudden reignited that spark because I had let go of so much of this creative inner painting fire. Like that's who I am. That's who I've always been. There is not a page in this house that does not have a doodle on it. Period. End of story. And I had let a lot of that go, which is when I know my energy sinks down, my business sinks down, my relationship starts to struggle. So I'm so grateful that you invited me to partner with you through an art, through art with creating the art of embodiment. And I kind of just like, what inspired you to actually reach out and say, hey, like, do you want to try to create this thing?
Well, it was completely in the moment. I know we were doing a coaching call about podcasting, and I don't know, what were you talking about? You said something about having fun or something about, I don't know. Do you remember what it was?
I
And
have
then
no idea.
I just felt like I had this bolt of lightning come in, and I was like, I'm just going to ask you this. Do you want to host a creative healing program together? Because I just realized like it's so rare that I meet someone who has used art in the same therapeutic way that we have. And like as a solopreneur and an entrepreneur, to actually have it as an active practice that is bringing you so much. And it's so indescribable, it's not like I'm not sharing my things with pride. I mean, I colored on a stick yesterday, and I just like knew exactly what the energy of the stick is or what it needed and the colors and the symbols. I don't know what I'm going to do with that stick, but like when it was completed, I'm just like, I just feel so jazzed, like I don't know if anyone's benefiting from me painting on a stick, but I feel like you are someone who has the same degree of relationship with that process. And I just was so inspired of like, well, you love this process. Let's share about this process for other entrepreneurs or goddesses that are feeling stuck and don't want to do the same usual methods of, therapy or breath work or whatnot. I mean, they all work, but we kind of need to try. I'm always an advocate of trying new things because we're challenging ourselves. We're not putting ourselves in a box. We're not, or ageism, or, it's just like my message is really, it's not too late to try new things. And, like I am in my early 50s now, and I spoke with a girlfriend yesterday in Canada, and she just went on a tirade of like, I am just so proud of you. Now I'm going to be 48 and you just give me so much hope. You give me so much hope that life can be good in your 50s. And I'm just like, I can't believe all the things you're creating and how you've transformed and how you just keep putting new things out there. And she's like, I feel it. And like, I feel like I almost can take no credit for it, but it's more like, yeah, if you're always leaning into like, ooh, how do I want to feel? What do I need to release? Like, what do I need to move through? Art is just a process of moving through different stages. And we go through so many different stages in one day, so, it's just like you represent that playfulness of like, we can still be kids. If we pair up, we're going to give permission to others to feel like kids. And it's really just about modeling, I might not be a fine artist, but I can support you in fostering this mojo and cultivating something new in your life. And, we help people remove blocks and about the thinking, but then we also need to balance it with practices that take us out of the attachment of results, of trying to gain something. And just by being in the energy of like awe and curiosity and then self-pride and, getting over the hurdle of like, I just want to burn this and rip it up, which you can, but then there's a moment where you start accepting what came out. And, for instance, I felt so embarrassed by me just trying to draw a landscape that I saw. So I was like, I have to alter this. I have to alter this. And I've always been really drawn to Aboriginal art, the dot things. And to this day, I can't find a good enough brush that actually makes good dots. So my dots even look horrible. Like, I don't even know how people make these cool rocks with the dots or how the Aborigines do it. But so I started using the dots to sort of alter it. So it wasn't realistic anymore. It was just just bringing more earthy vibes into it. And that took, the art of doing the Aboriginal style took the edge off of my own criticism. So, we can always borrow and morph from things that inspire us, and then just try it.
Yeah. I think you keep bringing up the just try it, face that fear, get into the courage. And, like we're talking about is we have birthed something, and I'm really excited because it relit my fire in my life and in my business, and magical things have been happening ever since we decided this. Just things have been flowing in, and it's that energy. It's that energy of acceptance. That's that energy of creativity. It's that energy of being okay with not perfect, not messy, So for anyone who is in that place right now that's stuck and feeling unmotivated to want to light up the room and magnetize people, I think this art of embodiment is a great place where we get to go on this journey together. And I'm really excited about the journey that we get to go on.
Me too. Me too. And also I've just had so many different ideas of just like what process to share or how to share it. And like I'm just listening and getting new ideas for exercises to share. And I can't wait to even experience you teaching your methods. And it's just really exciting to have that co-creation and permission givers. And I think that's what gives other people the possibility to nurture their creative edge is by being in a group of permission givers and acceptance. Like, there's no pressure to perform. This is totally an exploration, an adventure. And if you commit to it, again, there's this concept of committing, like, you're going to get so much bang for your buck in an energetic way, and in just uplifting and growing outside of yourself and your own mind limitations. So it's more like the proof's not necessarily going to be on the page. The proof is going to be of what other things happen, like you said, the magic as a result. And I definitely have tangible results from any time I have let myself try new things in art and complete things where my photography, where I'm really passionate and bold, there I don't have a lot of resistance, but then it would just allow me to take my photography into new levels where that was really satisfying, because I feel like those things would never have happened if I had not used these other parts of my brain.
Yeah. So do you want to share a little bit about what the program kind of, from your point of view? Because I know, again, the beautiful thing about this is it's co-created. So we're having this beautiful blend of both sides. I want to know from your side, like, what is this, art of embodiment?
Embodiment is such an evasive term, because I think in the Western world, we're just, yoga is from another culture, right? I mean, that's only a newer thing development in our Western culture. So we've never really known the concept of even what embodiment is. And we're so, just like our mind having to do things with the status quo, but we're so disconnected from our bodies. So that's why, people might be addicted to exercise or athletes, but it's still like they might be identified with their body, but it doesn't mean, you know, what is their motivation? Their motivation is still trying to, this competition, it's still trying to prove something. It's wanting to have validation for how you look. You know, there's just, it's this evasive thing of mind body connection. And, you know, I've been in the healing arts for, you know, almost 30 years, but over 15 in my chosen field of energy medicine. That's emotional freedom technique, energy work, mindset, because how we think or how we perceive does inform our body, does affect our body. And all the own resistances that we've built up in our bodies from our individual childhoods, right? And so that's what I help people with, is the trauma that's literally lodged in our nervous system, that was skipped over, that was locked away, you know. And that could be also like soul retrieval, you know, parts of us that disassociated. So there's so many ways to get into embodiment, but just, you know, you shared the art of release, which I love that name too, but the art of embodiment seemed more fitting with what we're co-creating, because, you know, I don't really like to talk about chakras personally, because that's also like a different philosophy or paradigm, but there's truth to it because of our energy centers. You know, it's very basic that our root chakra at the base of our spine and our sex centers is like, I am the right to be here. You know, our belly button, that's where we were nourished. That's where our little body was started, the connection with our mother. You know, we're just such layered beings and layered creatures. I mean, this is a big topic, right? But, you know, truly, like, we don't, in our now life, we don't have a concept of like, what was that like to just receive and be created and be born, and then we're thrusted into this world as an independent little vessel, right? So it's like all of life, I really resonate with this term, is like, I want to be more embodied before I die, right? I want to be fully incarnated before I die while I'm here. Like, let's have the right to have pleasure. Let's have the right to be in balance with our 5 innate elements, you know? And so, you know, being in our field in the business world and personal growth and personal development, the art of embodiment is really like, the concept is really designed like, okay, where are we blocked right now? What do we believe? What are our secret beliefs? So a big part of our course is inquiry, right? So we're going to really start with investigating what is holding us back and our beliefs between our you know, root chakra, sex center, and solar plexus, and then to our heart. Because we want to live a fulfilling life, and we are still walking around with these imbalances, whether they are from birth, from our childhood, or even in recent years, you know, loss, divorces, you know, whatever we go through, having to reinvent ourselves. We've taken a lot of blows, and we've had to like not blow after blow. Maybe we're disempowered and we're still trying to make ourselves relevant, building on a foundation that's has a lot of potholes, you know?
Yeah.
And so we're here to kind of hold that space, to a safe space, to create that safety in the body, to reveal these blocks without judgment, and using art as a method to like really kind of like, we want to connect body mind, and using art as the modality to release, you know. And this is not about creating beautiful masterpieces, but actually like releasing the beautiful mess. And no one's going to judge you for it, you know. I mean, one of the things I've been sharing a lot with my clients who are really wanting to lose weight, or unhappy with their body, or feeling stuck, or not able to move through grief, you know, I've been sharing a lot lately. It's like, you know, I lost 50 pounds and nobody cared. Nobody cared. It's really, everything we do is for us. If you're going to be in grief your whole life, people just want you to be happy, you know. And So it's more like there's no there. Like it's just always you. And so this course is for you to really honor and give yourself the permission and the compassion to let this go. And what do we want to replace that space with? It is possible. We're both dark and white. We're innately, like, we can't separate the yin and the yang. We are both innately masculine and feminine. So we are going to be offering, just the investigation of the allowance of our nervous system, who we are innately, and like, what do we want to claim? And it's okay, that grief or that powerlessness or that victim mentality, that can be there for as long as it needs to. And we're open to possibility, and we're open to liberation from this old way of thinking. We're open to magic. We're open to being more inspired co-creators. And it's not power over, it's more like, if we heal, everyone benefits. Right? And so, we want to offer this kind of investigation through the chakras and transformation. So it's a transformational journey. You and I both will be having little EFT scripts, little lives in our private Facebook group. And, we won't be concentrating on, normally I do like full hours, but we're just going to go in bite-sized pieces, like 15-minute, 20 minutes, maybe some like body movement, might be putting in some yoga, but we're really going to take the temperature of the group and what the group needs. But it's basically a psycho-spiritual journey designed to free up your nervous system to get more of you in, more of your self-expression, and learning these different artistic or creative modalities for you to perpetuate, to put into your life of whatever works for you. And it's going to be different for everyone. It's more like we're offering the smorgasbord of unlimitedness, because it can be about, hey, go for a walk today and make an earth mandala. Let's make a prayer to the earth. It's not just idle time. It's not just you time, but what if this is like a way of connecting, connecting to the elements within and without? Are there any other things you want to add to?
There's some things that you said that I think are so incredibly important. And that's like, you mentioned this creativity and then immediately receiving. Like, as the baby, we were connected and we were just receiving. And I think that is one of the sides of creativity that we forget to mention, is that ability to receive the good, to receive the truth, to receive our own internal flame. And I think that the container we're creating is really going to be that place that you can reconnect to yourself, to this planet, and to other beautiful humans going through the same thing. Because we're fed so many things, like you said, once we're birthed into this crazy world, we're fed so many things that limit us, but we are limitless.
Yeah. And creating new beliefs together, or exposing the old beliefs for the lies they were, and that we just adapted or meant to mean different things, And it's so important to come into neutrality, because that's going to impact like all areas of your life.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love neutrality versus the word balance, because I think that that's something that's actually achievable.
Yeah. And that's not care. It's not caring. It's more like coming from a non-reactive place and a resourced place. And, that really kind of means the be here now, or the meaning of Zen, or why people meditate,
Yeah. So if you're interested in coming on this beautiful 4-week journey where you get to rediscover and re-embody your true essence, this true, creativity, receiving, abundance, limitlessness. Yes, that's a hard word for me to say. I will make sure to get all the information down in the show notes for you, because again, I can see in my life, just with feelings and emotions, when I stop being creative, that's when my depression sneaks back in. when that doing, when that exhaustion, when that pure, I'm done, I'm stuck, but allowing, especially that's going to be beautiful inside a container of other people that are, on the same path. I'm so honored that you asked to create this.
Yeah, and I always emphasize that the power of doing it in the group is only, an exercise in the mirror to see, wow, I'm not the only one who feels thought I had this dirty little secret, or I'm the worst of, or I'm so unworthy, or I'm so untalented, or whatever our secret belief is. And then you're like, they feel that way, but they're amazing. What they like, I wouldn't hold them responsible for this, or I wouldn't shame them for this. But it's like to realize that we all are so human and share these same beliefs, and that really resolves things quicker, because you don't feel alone in it. And if you have the capacity, if I have the capacity to see you as amazing and creative and like everything you've accomplished, like I have no negative judgments toward you, but we each have our bag of negative thoughts and beliefs. But it's like, hey, what if I felt the same way about myself that I feel about you? And so that's the beauty of the group, that we are all rising together and uplifting each other.
Yes. Yes. And I'm so excited to get the spark back. I feel like a whole new person now that I've allowed creativity to come back in. So I am so grateful for you re-inspiring me.
And I'm so grateful that this was the call that you felt, and that you were an immediate yes. I was like, really? I was like, awesome. I love co-creating with people. It's so much nicer to hold a container with shared experience. And it's really where it's at right now. I feel like we're all meeting the people that are supposed to connect, and I know that the people who are meant to connect with us will be there, because we have that space of safety and resonance. And so just having that faith that when something's so inspired and perfect timing, it's going to also attract the perfect group that's meant to be together.
Oh, that's like mic drop right there. Like, it will, and it always does. And when you allow for flow, it's magnetized. So where can people find you outside of, again, we'll put the art of embodiment in the show notes, but where can people find you if they're looking to go deeper through EFT and some of the actual stuff that you do in your coaching business?
I'm pretty much Rose Yoga across the board. If you go Google that, and it's like, I coined that term back in 2013. It just really means heart courage, because even to be willing to work on your old patterns, to dive into trauma, it takes some heart courage. So I know that when people contact me, it's because they found me because they're ready to change something. I already know that because they have had that courage. And so that's really rewarding. And so on Instagram, I'm miracle_Inc., which you can put in the show notes, because that has the link tree to a lot of my offerings. I've got lots of free tapping on YouTube, interviews that I've been interviewing people since 2015, people who have followed their hearts. And so there's a lot of content out there just to explore. And I do photography and also destination retreats in Mount Shasta and the Big Island. So if you ever decide to come to Mount Shasta, I'm partnered with some amazing private springs and retreat centers. So I'm always, I'm basically an inner and outer tour guide. I love, the personal work that we can do over the phone, but also taking people to sacred sites and really experiencing Mother Nature. That's a big part of the work I do in reconnecting people to nature. So, yeah.
That's exciting. So if someone was to walk away with just like one little thing from this interview that you wanted them to take with them for, whatever season they're in, maybe it's a lifetime, maybe it's a season, maybe it's a moment, what would be that one thing?
I usually say the same things about trying new things. Wow, I want to say something unique right now. But I think really what I want to say right now is, from the 4 agreements, don't take anything personally, not even your own projections on yourself and judgments on yourself, like how people react to you or not react to you. Just it really, it does, it's like it is our life, so it is personal, but really I feel like as we're only going to survive in our humanity right now by being connected with each other, and we've got to not take things personally and really be again in that neutrality. And it's work, but so often if the roles are reversed and you see yourself like maybe being cold to someone or non-responsive, but because you're so preoccupied with some other huge drama that just happened, it just gives you the proof that you're not doing anything personal to that other person, like, and that, like, how, imagine what our lives would be like if we didn't take things personally. And so whatever, for whatever reason, that's what's coming out.